In this video, we're going to build a Formstack document automation using Microsoft PowerPoint as the source file. Let's dive in. Hi, I'm Kyle, the creator of No Code Collab, a site with tips, tricks, and tutorials for your next no-code project. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and be sure to head over to our website where we have code snippets and other resources to help you during your no-code build. The biggest advantage of starting your Formstack document inside of PowerPoint is that you have complete control over the layout. So you can put text and images wherever you want to in your document, and it doesn't have to all line up and flow like it would in a text document. So that's the biggest advantage, is that you can be creative with the layout. Important note here, as I'm talking about Microsoft PowerPoint, you can start in Google Slides, you could start in Keynote. All you have to do is save those files as PowerPoint files, because when you go into Formstack documents, you will need to upload a PowerPoint file. So start wherever you want, just make sure you save them as PowerPoint files. Let's take a look at a really simple PowerPoint file that we can use in a Formstack document automation. We'll show you how to make tags. We'll show you some little scripts that can help you hide and show slides, and a couple other things that you'll want to be aware of as you're creating these layouts so that you get the intended results. So let's dive in. Okay, so here I am inside of Microsoft PowerPoint. I've got a blank presentation. I want to show you how to do two primary things. One, we're going to look at how to add data into the document, and then how to conditionally show certain slides, because you can tell Formstack documents to include or not include a slide in the final document that they create. So those are the two primary things we're going to do. As you're creating your document, know that you can create your PowerPoint however you normally create your PowerPoints, right? You can move things around on the page. You can add images, you can add shapes, you can style it however you want. And however you style it, whatever you add on there will be created in the document. The way that you communicate with Formstack documents, though, is by adding little tags throughout the document in text boxes. So I've got a text box here. I'm going to come in to start communicating with Formstack documents. You add a left curly bracket, and then for a tag, you add a $, and let's call this a title, and then a closing curly bracket. This tells Formstack documents, I need to swap this out. I need to swap out title with whatever data is coming through that is the title. With my subtitle, I can do the same thing. I'm going to add a opening or a left curly bracket, and then I'm going to do a tag, so a $, subtitle, and I'm going to close out my tag. So those are two very simple tags that I have in my document here that I've created. You can name these whatever you want. I always say keep them short, keep them descriptive, but they should always be one word. The other thing to know is that as you're adding your text boxes to the slide, Formstack documents will include every text box. So if you give this shape an outline, an orange outline, and you don't have a subtitle, the orange outline will still be there. So that it's not, if there is no subtitle, it's not that the box goes away, the box stays there. So whatever styling you give that box, the styling will still show up. So just be thinking about that as you're designing out these documents, because if you have drop shadows or background colors or fill colors, whatever it is, those will still show up regardless of whether or not you have a subtitle. You can't tell Formstack documents to just not include an entire text box. You can tell it to include or not include stuff that's inside of the text box, but you can't tell it to conditionally show a text box. So know that that's an important one. Okay, so now let's look at how we can tell Formstack documents whether or not to include certain slides in our final document. So I'm just going to copy this text box, drag it up here, and instead of having a tag inside of our curly brackets, I'm going to use some logic. So we're going to say slide if, and this is going to say, hey, if this thing is true, then include the slide. If this thing is not true, then don't include the slide. So slide if, let's say if title equals hello. Now, if our title equals hello, then we're going to include this page. Now, another way you could do that, and I will just copy this, is instead of title equals hello, maybe we want to say, well, if the title even exists, right? So maybe it's not hello, but if the title is not empty. So the way that we could do that is we could say slide if not empty, and then our tag title. So basically what we're saying is if the title is not empty, then include this. So the way that I think about using this more practically is if you have products or services and you've got a prospect or a client that comes in and says, hey, I want some information on these two products. You could have one big PowerPoint file that has all of your products in it. And then you are just conditionally showing or creating a presentation or a deck or a PDF based on which products they're interested in. So you could just say, if they're interested in product one, show the slide or show the page for product one. So you can get really nice results and customized results that are tailored to individuals that include only the information and only the pages they need based on a form that they've filled out. So we're going to leave this for now, and let's save this and let's bring it into Formstack documents and show you what it looks like once we actually create our document. Okay, so I'm inside of Formstack documents now. I'm going to create a new document. Let's call this test presentation. I do have a file I would like to use. It is presentation 3. I'm just going to do a third-party delivery, and I'm going to use a data collection form. That's the easiest. They basically give you a page that has all of your form fields, and you can just fill it in. If you had a Formstack document, then you would be, or a Formstack form, you would be using this integrate with an external service. If you had a type form or some sort of other form, you'd be using this external service. So now I'm going to finish this. And now if we look at our document, we can, along the top here, we can see we can manage our file. We can view the file online in the online editor. I can also see my file settings. Now, I always like to come into settings, and I always use the field map for custom integrations. And then I hit save, because then you get another tab along the top that gives you this field map. For this, in my settings, I'm going to save this out as a PDF. It's a little bit easier. I'm going to save. And in my field map that I just added, you can see that I've got title and subtitle. So enabling the field map helps me understand what Formstack Documents is seeing inside of my document. And then my delivery is, I can set up an email delivery or save it to Drive or some other server. I could send it to Sign. And then merge, if I wanted to merge, I could, this is my URL where I could see the form where someone could fill this out and create this document. You don't really have much control over this form. I would recommend just using Formstack Forms or another form tool instead of this, but it is there. So now let's look at our document. Let's test it. So let's give our title is going to be presentation, and let's call this My Great Presentation. So if you remember, if we jump back to our document here, I've got one slide that should show up if it says hello, and then I've got another slide that should show up if it's not empty. So if it is hello, if I have hello, I will have 2 slides. Otherwise, I will have, in this case, I should only have 1 slide. So let's test this document. And now if I open up my document here, I can see that I have 1 slide. It says presentation, my great presentation. If I come back here and I put in hello, I should get 2 slides. And we can see now I've got 2 slides because hello, if we jump back, the title equaled hello. And so we've included that slide as well. So now if I get rid of the title and it's empty, then I would have no slides, which will actually throw an error and I won't end up getting any sort of document. But if I can come back here and let's duplicate this and let's just say if subtitle. So now we should have if the subtitle is not empty, I'm going to save that off, go back to my file. I'm going to upload the file, the new version of it. And now if I go to test, if I test this, I should have only 1 page, which would have been page 3 because the subtitle was still there. Perfect. And if I make this hello, I will have 3 pages. So you can see how adding this logic is allowing us to create dynamic documents. And the benefit of PowerPoint is that I can style these slides however I want. And so that is really the nice thing about starting in PowerPoint is you've got complete flexibility from your layout, and then you can determine which pages you're including in your files. Okay, so that was a pretty quick overview of how to use Microsoft PowerPoint as your template for Formstack document automations. If you've ever done any sort of other Formstack documents before, creating tags, using logic, all that, it still applies to PowerPoint. So all of that is still valid and useful inside of your PowerPoints. The 2 things to note are the slide if function, which is unique to PowerPoint. You can dynamically determine whether or not to show or hide slides. Additionally, you can't tell Formstack documents to remove an element from a page. So if you have a shape or you have a text box, you can't have Formstack documents remove that from the page. So if there are any stylings of text boxes or you want to conditionally show a shape, you can't do that. So that's something to note. But otherwise, all of the principles and the things that you use in your Microsoft Word document automations with Formstack documents, those still hold true when doing a PowerPoint. Really hope this tutorial is helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the chat, and we will see you at the next tutorial.